Are they trying to trick us? That is the question. No one wants to feel like they're being lied to. No one wants to feel like someone's trying to get one on over them. It goes back to our very nature in being humans. We need to feel like we're the best, like no one could take advantage of us. Because if they do, we might die. Now, this isn't a matter of life or death, it's a matter of video games, but it still goes back to the fundamental truth that we don't like to feel tricked. So today we're going to be talking about video game trailers and the discrepancy between early gameplay footage and final release. Namely, when games look really good early on, and then when they come out, they look significantly worse. We've got some recent examples with titles like The Witcher 3, Watch Dogs, Dark Souls 2, Aliens Colonial Marines, and then of course the gameplay that you're seeing in the background, The Division. So the question is this being done with malicious intent? I mean, they're a business after all. Their ultimate goal is to try to make money. So is this part of a marketing scheme? Are they saying, let's put out this trailer, hope it's the only one that people see, and then when they remember our game, they remember this trailer, and they purchase it? You know, you could say, of course, though, that's where reviews come in. And that's why maybe you should never pre-order games the first moment that it's possible. Wait until we know what the final product is going to be before we spend money on the product. But I digress, that's a different conversation for a different day. The conversation that we're having here today is about the graphics, the intent, and how this happens. How does this happen? How does this keep happening? Why does it keep happening? So when we see this gameplay so early on in development, they have these ideas for what they want their game to be. Understandably so, they want to share those ideas. And they probably want to share the best version of those ideas. So if they've got a trade show coming up, let's say E3, and they say, you know what, this is the year we want to reveal our game. We plan to release it 2 years from now. We'd like to show it now to get people talking about it, to get people excited about it. They're going to show us the best version of their vision possible. I highly doubt they're ever going to make that trailer and say, let's put it to medium graphics. Sure, we've got all these art assets that our team has worked on, and it could look this good, but let's just show it on medium graphics just in case. Of course that's not gonna happen. Think about yourself. If you're making a thing, and you have this event where you're showing it off, you're gonna show off the best version. You're gonna make sure you get your hair cut, you're gonna make sure you wear nice clothes, that you don't smell funny, and whatever product it is that you're presenting, you wanna show them the best one. You're not going to show them your vehicle with the wheels falling off. You know? You're not going to show them your volcano diorama with the explosion not working. No. You're going to cobble together the best thing of what your idea, what your concept, what you'd like to make is, and that is what you will show to people. This is where the problem lies, because when they show us the best idea that they have 2, 3, 4 years prior to launch, and then they build that out into a full game, they take that concept, that idea, and they find that it's not working. That's the problem. All of the graphics settings that they wanted, the weather effects, the particles, the lighting, all of the detail that they had doesn't end up working when expanded out into a full game, when taken from a vertical slice and brought out into the full pizza. So I think if anything, the problem that ends up happening are delusions of grandeur. Let's go back to what we talked about earlier. People want to feel important. They don't want to be tricked. They also want to feel like they're capable, like they can do great things. And these developers are no different. They are people. They have ideas for a thing they want to make, and they want to feel like they could do amazing things. But then they end up finding out throughout the development process that they can't. I think this situation that I've just laid out is a far more probable situation to what ends up happening in the early reveal, development process, and then final release than the idea of, let's just take everything and let's trick everybody. Let's just throw all of the effects, all of the things into these trailers, and let's purposefully trick everybody. But I don't feel like certainly the developers of games are purposefully trying to do that. Because I would tell you, from someone who makes things in their life, from someone who creates something, like I create these videos, I always want to make the best video that I can. And if I had an idea for this huge series, and I made a trailer for that series, I would put as much effort into that trailer to be the best representation of what I wanted to make that series to be. And then if it just happened to turn out that while that series was under production, I couldn't do everything that I wanted to do, I think that's a similar problem. I think that's an example that showcases how this could happen. People are making games because they love making games, but also because they make money. And I feel, as someone who makes things myself, not as complicated or in-depth or maybe as valuable as video games, but as someone who makes things myself, I want to make the best thing that I can. I'm constantly trying to make a better thing than I've made before. And I really feel as if developers are probably the same, and we see these trailers, and that's their best idea of what they would like to make. So this is the topic viewed from the development standpoint, but let's also talk about it from the parody standpoint. There's an argument to be made for the parity across platforms. Problem for us PC gamers. Now, as much as we love the platform, I hate to break it to you, on average, console sales tend to far outsell that of the PC. It's just the world that we live in. If it wasn't the case, we'd see more PC exclusives and less games focused on console. And while PC gamers certainly do have their exclusives, by and large, there are lots and lots of games, the big games. We're not just talking about indies, and indies they have their place and they're certainly very valuable, but the big games that are kind of made to make a lot of money, the Call of Duties, the Destinies of the world. These are games that are sold to the mass market, and they're focused on the console for that reason, because that's where they can make the most money. If these big publishers could make the most money exclusively on PC, then they would come here. And again, it of course depends on the game. It depends on what they're trying to do. Some of these examples that I've laid out for you, that's been the case. They focused on the console because that's where the money is. And it's been said in a recent interview here for The Division that is one of the hang-ups for our PC version. It's one of the reasons the game might not look as good as it possibly could, because they're going for parity. They don't want the PC version to look so much better than that of the consoles, because that would alienate their console player base. But at the same time, what it ends up doing is it frustrates us PC elitists, because we know the game could look better, and they probably could push it more than they are, but they're not, because they don't want to upset all those console people. As much as we like to get into our console versus PC war, let's remember, they're still people. They're still gamers too. I game on the console as well. I've got everything. If people say that the PC master race, listen, if you're a true gamer, you probably own all the platforms, so you can play all the games. No, that doesn't jive with my worldview. Whatever, dude. We have different opinions. It's fine. I'll live my life. You can live yours. Point being, there's an argument for that, and that is a true and frustrating situation for those of us who just want the best PC games that we can get. Because you know what? We spent the money. We've got the hardware. We want these games to look as good as they can. And we get some games where that's the case. We get some PC exclusives that are specifically tailored to look as good and play as well on PCs as possible. But when we're dealing with multi-platform games, unfortunately, the truth of the world that we live in is that parity is going to exist, and we are going to have to, I guess, suffer the consequence of games not looking quite as good as they could. Yes, I'm trying to sort of explain and understand how this happens, but I'm not here to be an apologist for a developer or publisher. I'm not here to say that it's okay that they show us games many years prior to launch that don't end up looking like the final product, because I actually don't think that's okay. My purpose behind this video is try to reason through and understand why it happens, but that doesn't mean I'm okay with what happens. I think the answer is maybe don't show games so early prior to launch. You know, if publishers and developers don't want to deal with the backlash of these graphical downgrade complaints for games like The Witcher 3, Watch Dogs, Dark Souls 2, Alien Colonial Marines, and here in The Division, if they don't want to deal with the community uproar, maybe they shouldn't show us games so early. Maybe they shouldn't be like, hey, we've got this great idea, we want to share it. We're not sure if it'll actually play out, but let's represent it here. Maybe wait until the game's closer to release. Show us it 1 year prior to launch. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe marketing doesn't want them to just show it 1 year prior to launch because that's not enough lead-up time to maximize sales and profits. And that's where we can get into the notion that maybe this is all trickery. Not purposefully on the hands of the developers, once, as we've talked about here, They're just trying to show us the best thing that they could show us because this is the idea that they have and that's what they want to make. But if marketing tells them we have to show this game now, even though it won't be ready for 2 or 3 years, then what they end up doing by its nature doesn't represent the final product because the final product doesn't exist. It's still in the making. And they can try to shoot for what they showed us in 2013, but if it ends up not happening, then it ends up not happening. That's a bummer, but I think that's the reality of these situations. My answer, once again, don't show us games so early, but maybe that's not gonna happen. And maybe we'll always have to deal with this. And maybe, just maybe, in the future, we will see people, when they make these early trailers, set those graphics to medium, so they don't over-represent what the game could be, and then end up not delivering. Alright guys, that is going to do it for me here today. I want to thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video talking about graphical downgrades and whether or not there is malicious intent. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below on this topic. If there's something I didn't cover that you'd like to bring up, you know, I'm reading this comment section, even though it might infuriate me sometimes. Different people with different thoughts and different ideas tend to not always agree. That's okay. You're still a good person, I think. Alright guys, thanks so much, and until next time, I'll see you later.
JTF, hearing this? Please respond!
Tracking signal. Analysis complete. Uploading coordinates.
We're not fighting up. What?